बिंदु मैम, माधव जी हमारे साथ जुड़ चुके हैं। गुड मॉर्निंग एवरीवन।
वेलकम सर।
Welcome, Madhav sir. On the behalf of the Bharati College and Jamia Millia Islamia, we welcome you, sir. And it is a great honor for me to introduce and welcome our chief guest, Shri Ram Madhav ji, of this beautiful morning. And sir merely requires any introduction, though he is well known for his work. And he is a great Indian politician who is serving as the National Secretary of Bharatiya Janata Party. He also serves as a member of governing body of India Foundation. An author himself, he has written many books in English and Telugu. He has traveled to over 30 countries and addressed prestigious forums like Shangri-La Dialogue in Singapore, World Peace Conference in Thailand, Sochi Eurasian Integration Forum in Russia, and the BRICS Political Forum in China, amongst many others. सर हम बहुत बहुत आभारी हैं आपके कि आपने इतने बिजी शेड्यूल से हमें समय दिया। मैं आपका वेलकम करती हूँ भारतीय परिवार की तरफ से और जामिया मिलिया इस्लामिया की तरफ से। और सर प्लीज आप अपने विचारों से हम सबको संबोधित करें सर। धन्यवाद सर।
नमस्कार
नमस्कार सर।
Thank you, everybody. भारती कॉलेज एंड जामिया मिलिया इस्लामिया के तत्वावधान में आयोजित इस कॉन्फ्रेंस में मुझे आपने बुलाया है, इसके लिए आप सबको धन्यवाद। I'm sorry, I am in Srinagar now. Here we still have some network related problems. So आपको थोड़ा नेटवर्क में प्रॉब्लम हो रहा हो तो थोड़ा मुझे अलर्ट करें। आज मुझे सूचित किया गया कि आई शुड शेयर माय व्यूज ऑन द करंट सिचुएशन।
मेरा नमस्कार सर, डॉक्टर रेखा सप्रा। आई एम सॉरी बीच में बोल रही हूँ। बहुत बहुत स्वागत है आपका इस वर्चुअल प्लेटफॉर्म पर। आई एम डॉक्टर रेखा सप्रा सर, प्रिंसिपल भारती कॉलेज। यू आर वेलकम टू दिस प्लेटफॉर्म सर। थैंक यू वेरी मच फॉर बीइंग विद अस।
Thank you.
Yes sir.
I'm audible?
Yes sir. Yes sir.
Yeah. Yes. तो मुझे बताया गया है कि I should speak about the current standoff between India and China along the LAC and also in general about the situation of China-India relations. आप सब लोग academics है, political science faculty से संबंधित लोग हैं, तो you probably know more about the India-China relations than a practicing politician like me. Yet let me try to give you a political perspective to this very important relationship. We all know that this relationship is of course a very old relationship, but this has seen a number of ups and downs in the last more than 7 decades. मैं मजाक से सब जगह एक कहानी बताता हूँ। Although you are all academics, still I will start with that कहानी only. You know, भगवान ने सृष्टि की रचना करने के लिए बैठा, तो पहले अमेरिका को बनाया। He gave all the wealth and prosperity to America. Then यूरोप को बनाया। He gave intelligence, अच्छा एंटरप्रेन्योरशिप, वो क्वालिटीज उनको दिया। अफ्रीका को बनाया तो उनको अच्छे नेचुरल रिसोर्सेज दिया, नदी, जानवर, जंगल, पहाड़, एवरीथिंग। फिर आसिया को बनाया, हार्ड वर्किंग पीपल, लॉट ऑफ वेलर, फेरोशियस, एक मार्शल रेस के रूप में एशियाई देशों को बनाया। अंत में इंडिया को बनाने के बैठा तो भगवान के लिए इंडिया इज हिज ओन कंट्री, गॉड्स ओन कंट्री। ऑल्दो हमारे केरला वाले कहते हैं केरला को गॉड्स ओन कंट्री, एंटायर इंडिया इज गॉड्स ओन कंट्री। तो भगवान ने सोचा कि ये जो अलग अलग देशों को दिया ये सब इंडिया को दे देंगे, तो ही गिव प्रॉस्पेरिटी टू इंडिया, नेचुरल रिसोर्सेज दिया, इंटेलिजेंस दिया, हार्ड वर्किंग पीपल दिया। फाइनली एंडेड दिस होल एक्सरसाइज एंड ही वाज प्रीटी हैप्पी। ऐसे समय में नारद जी पहुंचे, तो नारद जी आए तो नारद जी ने एक बहुत बड़ा प्रश्न उठाया, भगवान जी आपने क्या कर दिया? भगवान ने कहा कि व्हाट हैव आई डन, आई हैव जस्ट क्रिएटेड द यूनिवर्स। तो नारद जी ने कहा बट देखिए what will history write about you? History will say God was partial. तो ये क्या शोभा देता है, आपने इंडिया को इतना सारा दे दिया? तो भगवान ने सोचा नहीं था, दे दिया था, तो संकट में पड़ गए। ऐसा प्रश्न उठेगा, पता नहीं था। तो नारद जी की एक विशेषता होती है, नारद जी comes with lots of problems but also he has lots of solutions. So भगवान ने कहा कि now you tell us, you tell me what should I do now? Having given all these things to India, I cannot take them back. तो नारद जी ने कहा ठीक है, आप ले नहीं सकते वापस में, ऐसा करो, एक साइड में पाकिस्तान बनाओ, दूसरी साइड में चाइना बनाओ, तो जो दिया है वो बराबर हो जाएगा। मैं इसलिए इससे शुरू कर रहा हूं, ये जो लॉन्ग ओल्ड रिलेशनशिप है हमारे लिए, ये दो देशों का, एक हमारे पॉलिटिकल एस्टेब्लिशमेंट के लिए इट ऑलवेज रिमेन्ड अ बिग चैलेंजिंग रिलेशनशिप। In English it is said that you cannot choose your parents, you cannot choose your neighbors also. Challenge for India when it has neighbors like China and Pakistan is to learn to live with them. This is what we have been trying to do in the last 7 decades. We are trying to learn to live with neighbors like China. When you have to live with them, live with your neighbors, you have to really learn about them properly. You should know what they are all about. All neighbors are not the same, are not alike. China is a different kind of neighbor. China, in fact, is not just a country, it's a civilization. इसको उस दृष्टि से देख के संबंध उनके साथ निर्माण करने के लिए एक विशेष प्रयास की आवश्यकता होती है। Until now, generally the relationship has been like any other bilateral relationship. We have had very good relations in the first 10 years of our independence. Until 1958 and 59, हम तो साथ मिलकर पिजियंस को उड़ा रहे थे, हिंदी चीनी भाई भाई कह रहे थे। But then that period between 1958-59 and 62 war, the 62 war was a big learning for India. Of course, we had a humiliating defeat in that war, lost territory, but also lost face because the whole idea of building a bilateral relationship on our own principles may not work with every neighbor. Something that probably could have worked with some other neighbor would not necessarily work with China. That realization happened only after 1962. That our Panchashila, our Hindi Chini Bhai Bhai, our efforts to have good neighborhood relations are not sufficient to deal with this neighbor. So you need to look at that neighbor from a very different civilizational prism. As I said, it's just not like any other country. It's a civilization with a civilizational experience, with a civilizational thinking. Now, for example, we in India have a conception of war. Greatest war in Indian history was the Mahabharata war. Mahabharata war begins with a statement by, the very first shloka describes Mahabharata, that battlefield, as Dharma Kshetra. Dharma Kshetre Kurukshetre. That is how the description of the battlefield begins. In our conception, war also is a rightful enterprise. It's a righteous enterprise. This is the whole thinking. Everything should be based on certain value system. Whereas in China, they're one of the oldest war philosophers was Sun Tzu. Sun Tzu's book, The Art of War, In that, one of the statements that Sun Tzu makes is that the art of war is an art in deception. 2000 साल पहले युद्ध के बारे में जब सोचा गया, इंडिया में हमने सोचा कि धर्म युद्ध है, you should fight in a very righteous way. वहां कहा गया कि नहीं, war itself is deception. So you cannot look at their approach to war from your prism. So when they approach the war, they approach from the prism, from the concept that war itself is a deception. You have to be deceptive. So we have that huge challenge of understanding that country from its civilizational experience prism. Unfortunately, what happened in India for last many decades was that we always thought that he is like any other neighbor. So we always tried to deal with that country in that fashion. So 62 का war हुआ, we lost badly. Afterwards, 67 was second big occasion of conflict between the two countries. नॉर्थ सिक्किम में हम फेंसिंग बना रहे थे, चीन की सेना आई, ऑब्जेक्ट की, तो वहां झगड़ा हुआ. नहीं, actually there was a conflict between the two armies. The result was that there were casualties on both sides. Chinese side had suffered more casualties, more than 350 people had died on their side. On Indian side, there were about 80-85 casualties. So after 62 war, 67 was a kind of a major military conflict between the two countries. Now, interestingly, after 1967, except for a minor skirmish in Assam in sometime in 1975, in Arunachal Pradesh in 1975, there was never any military conflict between our two countries until the Galwan conflict recently in 2020 May. In other words, from 67 or from 70 to 2020, for 50 years, you never had any border conflict. But take the other border, take the border with Pakistan. Not a single week passes without us reading in the papers that cross-border firing हुआ, उधर एक मरा, इधर दो जख्मी हुए, civilian died, army man died. It's a continuous process along the LOC. It happens all the time. But when it comes to India, China, LAC, the Indo-Tibetan border, you don't hear anything like that. Does it mean China is a Shanti Priya Desh? No. Here, that is why I am saying we have to understand the neighbor carefully. After the advent of Deng Xiaoping's rule in China, 1978, 1980 onwards, the effort has been to follow Sun Tzu. No military conflict. Without waging a war, you have to secure your military objectives. In fact, Sun Tzu's one of the dictums was, you have to win the war without waging battles. Win the war means you have to secure your war objectives, but you need not necessarily wage a battle. That is the reason why you remember 1979 Vietnam War was the last major war in which China had participated. After 79, you don't come across any war in which China had participated. अमेरिका 10 युद्ध किया बाद में. Even as recently as a few years ago also, America, you have seen them engaged in wars in the Middle East. But not China. It has adopted a different strategy to secure its strategic and military and national interests. That strategy, as far as India is involved, India is concerned, that strategy involved quiet occupation of Indian territory. Quietly keep on nibbling away the territory. when it comes to territory question,
एकदम हमेशा गाढ़ा ही गाढ़ा अरे कभी कभार
never agreed to any clear demarcation of the boundary. Because you have this idea that at some point you have to expand. You need more space, you need more territory, both for your own
सुनने लगेंगे लेकिन
needs of the country but also for your strategic needs.
यार इसको दुकान में देख लिए वहाँ
Today China and Pakistan are very close.
तुम्हारा कपड़ा
They have certain very important strategic infrastructure network also that connects those two countries.
ब्लू वाला तो लेकिन
To secure their
ये भी
strategic
अच्छा लगेगा
infrastructure,
नहीं मंगा
China needs more territory in Ladakh. So China would never agree to any accepted line of actual control. Any demarcation of that line, China will never agree. So the experience has been that it won't wage a war with you, it won't fight directly with you, but it will still continue to pursue its strategic and military objectives by way of gradually nibbling away our territory. Now question is, that is what from 1980 onwards China has consistently been doing. How have we responded to it?
एकदम प्लेन
First instance came in 1986 when we noticed that the Chinese had intruded into our territory in Arunachal Pradesh called the Sundorangchu Valley. They had occupied the terrain that we used to occupy means we used to sit at the during summers. In winters we would come back a little bit because of the climatic situation. When we came back in 86, when we went again in 87 to reposition ourselves on the land which belonged to us, we found the Chinese already occupying that area. General Sundarji was the army chief at that time. Sundarji had moved battalions of our army to Tawang and positioned them in front of the Chinese, asking them to vacate. Now, vacating an area that is occupied or on which the army is sitting is not necessarily a military decision. It will be a political decision. Obviously, Chinese at that time had refused. For us to get them vacated from Sundorangchu Valley took 6 years. 1987, we engaged with them. It is called eyeball to eyeball.
ये
We stood in front of them. They are that side, we are this side. On the territory which we believe or we consider to be belonging to us, Sundorangchu Valley. 1988, Prime Minister Rajiv Gandhi, first Prime Minister to visit China after the 62 war, he visited China. But the decision was, no, we will not talk about the border. Rajiv Gandhi, Deng Xiaoping had great discussion in which Deng Xiaoping supposedly told Rajiv Gandhi that the 21st century will be an Asian century, all big things about the world, but we were not talking about the border conflict, border standoff. Because the thinking was, border to chalte rehta hai. Let us talk about trade, let us talk about other things. It suited China very well. 93, Narasimha Rao went. Narasimha Rao, because of the proper advice that he got, he decided that this Sundorangchu Valley standoff should be sorted out because 6 years standoff. Peace and tranquility agreement was signed in 93. But when Narasimha Rao suggested that let us agree that whatever line which we both today occupy, let us consider as the existing line of actual control, the Chinese simply said, no, we don't agree with the word existing. Look at the way China thinks about these questions. We could not pin them down even to 1993 line. 93, wherever we are standing or wherever they are standing, we could have at least persuaded them to agree that okay, let us consider this as LAC. Line of actual control, that side is you, this side is me. China said no, I won't agree with that existing word. We had to climb down, we had to sign that peace and tranquility agreement without having that word existing, because until then there is no mutually agreed LAC. There was an opportunity, but we could not pin down China because China ka thinking pura alag hai. Why should I now agree that this is LAC? Why should I agree to a line which I never had any idea of respecting? So we decided to withdraw from Sundarangshu Valley. They will also withdraw, we will also withdraw, without finally deciding what is LAC. One great opportunity we lost. We lost because China is not agreeing, we had no option. But for China, deception is the art of war. Don't agree. Keep that option open so that you can go further into the territory. We continued with our practice of signing agreements. You are signing agreements over something on which there is no idea for anybody. I mean, you are signing agreements about LAC on which there is no agreement. In fact, this is what is called romanticism in foreign policy. You are signing about peace along LAC, but there is no LAC. We continue to do such maneuvers, such exercises in 96, in 2005, in 2012, in 2013. Every time we do a bilateral agreement, we agree on a few things, but in few months' time or few years' time, you find that they are violated. Again, Chinese are nibbling in away your territory. You claim that this is your understanding of LAC, they will never respect it. 2013 also is again a very big instance of Chinese intrusions in the Depsang Valley. Again, 20 kilometers they came inside our territory, sat down for 21 days. You may not get too much information about Sundarangshu Valley of 86 period, but you get all this information about 2013 if you just Google it. They came inside our territory, sat there for 21 days. India did not respond much. Indian government did not say anything to the public also. Finally, after 21 days, they simply vacated. Media reported that there was a clandestine understanding that we would demolish a few, few of our border posts that we have built in Shushul area. Nobody knows what happened at that time. Why I am saying, talking about all this history is, we understood after 2014 that this practice of normal bilateral approach is not working. So what we did was, all right, now we need to have good relations. India always wanted good relations with all its neighbors, and with China also. We have always sought to build strong neighborhood relations. So after Prime Minister Modi's government came in 2014, again that whole initiative of strengthening bilateral ties has continued. President Xi Jinping came to India in 2014. He came to Gujarat, Ahmedabad first, Gandhinagar first, and from there to Delhi. But when Xi Jinping was in India, we got to know that there were incursions into our territory in Ladakh. So Prime Minister taking it up directly with the President Xi Jinping on his face, directly confronting him and telling him that, you see, this cannot help in building bilateral ties. You have to act on it. After Xi Jinping went back, the Chinese troops withdrew. Then 2017 happened in Doklam. Doklam is a tri-junction between India, Bhutan and China. The tri-junction was start to be pushed down by the Chinese side by indulging in some kind of an infrastructure road building inside South Doklam. South Doklam is a territory that is under Bhutanese control. We protested them, but this time the difference was that we did not limit ourselves to bilateral talks. What we did was we moved our armies to Doklam. In fact, I remember there was a standoff 72 days. The Chinese side insisted that you should withdraw your army. So we insisted that unless you withdraw your equipment from South Doklam, you go back to your North Doklam area, we are not going to withdraw our army. We stood firm on the ground. Finally, China had to withdraw from the areas where it was trying to construct its territory. That was the first time we conveyed to the Chinese side that while we engage in proactive diplomacy when it comes to addressing these issues between the two countries, we don't hesitate in taking a strong ground posturing also. So today the policy is proactive diplomacy together with strong ground posturing. That is what happened in Doklam, or that is what is happening in 2-3 other places in Ladakh today. We are talking, there are incursions. The Chinese side sought to again violate our LAC and sought to impose their LAC on us, whether it is Pangong Tso Lake area, where they claim that from finger 4 onwards belongs to them. We claim that finger 8 is the border between the LAC line between the two countries. Similarly, at the hot springs, similarly at the Galwan Valley. So in all these 3 places today, we are physically confronting them. It is unfortunate that in the process, we lost about 20 of our valiant soldiers. They have martyred. There are an unknown number of soldiers who died on the other side also. We don't want any such military conflicts and people dying. But unlike in the past, when such situations arise, we just turn our jeeps around and come back. We are no longer going to do that. We are going to confront. We are going to stall them. We are going to physically secure our territories. This change in approach, minor but significant change in approach, is what the Chinese side recognizes today. So when you deal with a neighbor like China, the approach needs to be different. It doesn't in any manner mean that we want any confrontation with any neighbor. With all this also, we are having strong bilateral economic and trade relations with China. On economic trade front, we have the issue of trade deficit. It's a huge trade deficit, but we could try and bridge it a lot. Today, the trade deficit is also coming down. That effort will continue. The bilateral trade, bilateral relations will continue. But on the ground, India will take a firm position to secure its strategic, military, and its territorial interests. This is the model. I don't take much of your time. This is the model that has worked for many of the neighbors of China, you must remember. Only one instance I mention and close. China had a long dispute with Russia, right from Soviet Union days, about a few islands, about 3 islands. China would insist that all the 3 belong to us. It required a maverick like Boris Yeltsin, whom probably history wouldn't remember as any time somebody who ruled Russia after the collapse of Soviet Union. Probably not many people would know him also, know about his name also. But he could warn and extract their share of the islands from China in early 1990s. He finally warned China that 2 to Russia, 1 to you, either you agree or all 3 to Russia. China had agreed.
लंबा कोई नहीं
Why I'm saying this is you need to be strong on the ground to tackle a country like China. Not because you have any enmity with it.
इतना बड़ा
Whether it is Soviet-China conflict or India-China border dispute or it is South China Sea. On the ground, you need to be firm. That is what India has understood from its experience of last 5-6 decades. So let me end by saying that China-India relations